Hi everyone, so today I'm actually going to be going over a problem, the most common stack problem that you might see on LeetCode or in interviews called valid parentheses. What makes this problem so interesting is that it really fundamentally demonstrates or shows you the idea of how to use a stack. So we have these curly braces or these different types of brackets that we have in a string. So we have open parentheses and we have closed parentheses. One of the things to really think about is once you know that this is a stack problem, how could we exactly utilize this stack? So I have this hash map here for each closing parentheses. The closing parentheses are going to be the key, and their value assigned to it is going to be an open parentheses. And when you think of stack problems, the principle that you want to follow is this sort of algorithm or this technique that we use called last in, first out. So when we add to the stack, we're going to be popping the most recently added item. So for this string that we have here, we want to add the open parentheses to the stack and then pop if it matches the key and value pair matches, or else we're going to return false. It's not valid parentheses. So with the last in first out algorithm, we'll first take a look at and iterate through this list and add to the stack accordingly. So stacks are implemented in Python using arrays, but the important part about the stack data structure is understanding this last in, first out concept. So let's actually iterate through this list. We have this opening, bracket here. So we're gonna add that little bracket to the stack. That's going to be our first iteration. And then our second iteration, we have another opening bracket. Let's add that to our stack. This third iteration, we also have another opening bracket. See, these are different types of brackets. So that's a very important thing to acknowledge in our hash map. They have to match the pair. So when we iterate through the list and we see a closed bracket, this specific type of bracket needs to match the corresponding open bracket. So when we see this in our list and we want to pop from the stack, we first ask ourselves the question, does it match the key value pair that we have in our hash map? And if it does, then we'll go ahead and pop that from the stack. Notice the last in first out principle comes into play here. This was the most recently added open bracket that we added to the stack. So that is the one that we're going to pop. Then we go ahead and we iterate through the list again. We go here, we see this other open bracket. It's a different type of open or closed bracket. And then we ask ourselves a question, does it match the key value pair here in our hash map? Does it match? We see that it does. We see that it does with the most recently added item in the stack. So we go here, we pop from the stack, and once again we iterate, and then we go to this last value here. And this is another closed bracket, a different type of closed bracket from the other two that we just popped. We ask ourselves, does the key value pair match? We look, yes, it does. This closed bracket here matches this open bracket here. We pop from the stack. Notice that we are now at the end of the list. So we want to return true because our stack is empty. But you might be asking the question, hey, what if we had an additional parentheses here? We would add this technically to the stack. We would finish iterating through the list, but we want to return false because our stack in that case wouldn't be empty. We would actually be adding a new parenthesis. So the stack needs to be empty in order for us to return true. And that's kind of the purpose of this algorithm, is that we need to make sure that the key value pairs match when we're iterating through the list. And we also want to make sure that the stack is empty by the time we finish iterating, because we wouldn't have a valid pair of parentheses. What makes this problem super interesting is that it really fundamentally challenges your understanding of how to utilize stacks and understanding this last in, first out principle. What I would strongly encourage you guys to do is expand upon this problem. Maybe think of more counterexamples in this string that we have here and see if it works with the stack. Because one of the things about LeetCode and understanding how to solve these problems is going through multiple examples, seeing if there are any edge cases or seeing if there are any circumstances where something may or may not be true, or you might have to return a different value in a function. And I hope that this problem helps you guys understand both what stacks are and this idea of the last in, first out principle.